The Iron Giant is one of the most iconic movies of my generation. Released in 1999 and based on the 1968 novel The Iron Man, the movie was a box office bomb turned cult classic, and the first movie directed by Brad Bird, who would go on to write The Incredibles and one of my favorite Pixar movies, Ratatouille. With gorgeous animation, a phenomenal voice cast, and one of the darkest stories from my childhood roster of movies, The Iron Giant remains a legendary animated story for all ages. Today we're going to break down why.
Welcome to downtown Coolsville. Population? Us.
This movie is actually based on the book The Iron Man by Ted Hughes, a famous poet who was married to Sylvia Plath and wrote the book for their children to comfort them after her death. The film's lead animator, Richard Basley, pitched a version of the movie to Don Bluth, who turned it down. Warner Brothers acquired the rights, and in 1996, Brad Bird was given the project as his directorial debut. Bird had previously worked on The Simpsons and had recently been working on a movie called Ray Gun at Turner Feature Animation, which was deemed too intense for its target demographic at the time, but apparently is now finally in production as of 2022. Anyway, when Brad Bird read the novel, he was enchanted by the story and related to its themes, as he had been coping with the loss of his sister who had been murdered by her estranged husband. He revised the story to focus on a question. What if a gun had a soul and didn't want to be a gun? Bird was given an unusually high degree of creative control, which included adding characters Dean and Kent to the story, setting the film in 1950s America, and removing the musical aspect of the film based on Pete Townshend's album and musical adaptation of the original book. In an interview, Brad Bird explained why he made these choices. The main setting looks Norman Rockwell idyllic on the outside, but inside, everything is just about to boil over. Everyone was scared of the bomb, the Russians, Sputnik, even rock and roll. This clenched Ward Cleaver smile masking fear, which is really what the Kent character was all about. It was the perfect environment to drop a 50-foot-tall robot into. Tim McCanlies, who was working on a screenplay for Secondhand Lions, was brought on to write the script and made a significant change. In Bird's original plan for the story, America and the USSR were at war and the Iron Giant died amidst the war, but McCanlies added the scene at the end of the movie showing that he survived, saying, "You can't kill E.T. and then not bring him back." They purposefully left out the Giant's origin story in order to focus the movie instead on his relationship with Hogarth. Although he passed before the film's release, Ted Hughes himself was very pleased with the final script. Bird chose to create the movie in the 2.39:1 CinemaScope aspect ratio, as many late 1950s films were produced in this widescreen format. He fought with executives on inclusions that they felt would up the marketing appeal for the movie, including a sidekick dog, a present-day setting, and a hip-hop soundtrack, which all of these things would have created a very, very different result.
Look behind you, the giant!
No one understands him.
We've gotta help him.
The army wants to destroy him.
Go to Code Red! Repeat, Code Red!
We gotta hide.
And only one boy can save him.
Where's the giant?
He's my friend.
On August 6th,
Let's get out of here!
Warner Brothers Family Entertainment presents
You can fly! You can fly!
The Iron Giant. Rated PG. Starts Friday, August 6th at a theater near you.
The Iron Giant is coming this Tuesday.
Sunday!
It's the story about a kid who's got the biggest friend in the universe.
Code Red!
Let's get out of here!
The Iron Giant.
You can fly!
Launching Tuesday on video cassette and DVD. Rated PG.
The animators animated entire portions of the movie at once, rather than focusing on animating one character, and the animation team for The Iron Giant was primarily made up of members of the team that made Quest for Camelot the year before. That movie had been a financial failure, and the studio was concerned about further production of animated films. As a result, the film had a budget that was a fraction of the size of a Disney or DreamWorks movie and a shorter production schedule. Seems like it was about 2 years. But they did have more creative freedom, with the movie being made fully by the animation team and denial of corporate intervention, as I mentioned a moment ago. Detailed animatics were constructed to plan the scenes and the way the camera would move, and the team would watch the completed sequences in a screening room, with Brad Bird drawing on the screen to offer suggestions. Bird says his favorite moment of the production occurred in the editing room, when the team gathered to test the moment where the giant learns about souls. People in the room were spontaneously crying. It was pivotal. There was an undeniable feeling that we were really tapping into something. The art direction in this movie is stunning, with a fantastic understanding of color and contrast that makes scenes moody or muted and retro when they need to be. Norman Rockwell's art was a big influence for the design, and the animators studied Chuck Jones, known for Looney Tunes, Hank Ketchum, known for Dennis the Menace, caricaturist Al Hirschfeld, and Disney films from the era like 101 Dalmatians to inform the animation style. And it shows! I adore the painterly, slightly blurred out backgrounds of the forest and how the characters stand out against them as the only thing with outlines. The giant was designed by Joe Johnston, who directed Jumanji, and then refined by Mark Whiting and Stephen Markowski, who was the head CGI animator for the giant. They animated the giant at 12 frames per second when he interacted with other characters to make it less obvious that he was computer generated. Combining that 12 frames per second CGI with flat color for the Iron Giant himself makes it so that the giant robot blends in perfectly with the environment while still maintaining perfect proportions, which suits his inorganic nature as all of the humans around him stretch and squash the way characters do when they're drawn by hand.
Mr. President, we have a situation, sir.
All right, where is it?
Where is this guy?
Where is it?
Where's the giant?
Hey, there it is. I see it.
On August 6th,
Run, kid, run!
something humongous
Oh,
is among us.
I'm hip.
where'd he come from?
They could move up a reading at Pound. Mom says you need stimulation. Is there any more coffee?
The Iron Giant, rated PG, starts Friday, August 6th at a theater near you.
Warner Brothers Family Entertainment is proud to present the story of a young boy
I got him a name. Hogarth.
and a giant from another world
What? Get out of here!
who became a hero
You can fly?
on this one.
You can fly!
The Iron Giant, rated PG. Sneak preview this Sunday afternoon starts August 6th.
The movie takes place in Rockwell, Maine during the Cold War, which, just in case you don't know anything about, is in simplest terms possible a period of intense geopolitical tension between the United States and the Soviet Union. It's called the Cold War because instead of fighting each other directly with nukes, which would be called a hot war, I guess, they supported opposing sides in conflicts in other areas of the world. This is important to understand because it informs the war themes of the movie and the mounting fear around the Iron Giant's presence as a foreign entity.
You think this middleman is fun, but who built it? The Russians, the Chinese, Martians, Canadians? I don't care!
A space object crashes into the ocean, and while visiting his mother at the diner she works at, Hogarth Hughes overhears ship workers discussing it and speculating where it came from. The following night, he goes out and happens upon the thing they were talking about, a 50-foot tall robot who is electrocuted after trying to eat the transmission lines of a power plant. The power plant scene is horrifying all at once, scaring you, making you aware of how large and threatening and dangerous that the Iron Giant can be, while also establishing empathy for the creature as you watch him suffer at being electrocuted. In the school scene, Hogarth's peers discuss how they think foreign enemies sent the Iron Giant there to take over the country, and that they should bomb it before it does. The duck and cover theme from the school scene has never left my mind. After saving the giant despite his fears of the creature, Hogarth befriends the giant and tries to hide and protect him from the community with mixed success. The giant eats metal and is unintentionally destructive enough to draw attention from an unsettling government agent named Kent Mansley, who grows suspicious of Hogarth and rents a room in his house to keep an eye on him. Stalker vibes. The film contains multiple intense scenes that still get my blood pumping to this day. The scene of the Iron Giant putting the train tracks together after eating them is so suspenseful. But some of these scenes are hilarious. I always love the scene of Hogarth praying while desperately trying to get the Iron Giant's hand out of his house, and the resulting scene of him dodging his mother throughout the place, which, in addition to being chaotically funny, employs a really nice understanding of lighting and perspective. Pretty much any time the giant excitedly does something in the first half of the movie, actually, it feels really intense because he holds the potential for such destruction purely because of his size, in the beginning of the movie, despite being a sweet and simply curious creature. The scene of him stomping towards Rockwell as Hogarth begs him to stop, rushing through the trees, is another such example. To keep the giant safe, Hogarth brings him to a beatnik who owns a junkyard and makes art out of scrap metal. He knows him from his visits to the diner his mother works at. The beatnik's name is Dean McCoppin, and he is Daddy. Look at this man. I adore him. This photo has been my Facebook banner on and off for like 10 years. Some of my favorite moments of the movie are spent with Dean and Hogarth at the junkyard as they hang out with the giant. Over time, Hogarth teaches the giant about the world, including explaining the concept of death to him in a scene that may have traumatized me a bit as a kid. Bambi who? Mansley interrogates Hogarth after discovering a photo of him with the giant, and despite him being temporarily fooled, things escalate quickly, resulting in a reveal of the giant's unfortunate reality. He unwillingly transforms into an absolute war machine when his defense system is triggered by images of violence. And in a twisted way, the design of the war version of the giant is very beautiful. It's so different from his normal form that he truly feels like a different entity. Mansley convinces the general of the army contingent he summoned to prepare a nuclear missile launch. Hogarth tries to calm the giant down, and Dean convinces the general that the giant is not a threat. But Mansley has already launched the nuke in Rockwell's direction, and the giant intercepts the missile to save the town, becoming a hero despite his creation clearly being with the intent of destruction.
Mom says it's something inside of all good things, and that it goes on forever and ever.
It's a beautiful story that has stuck with me far past my childhood. It taught me at 4 years old about friendship, life, death, the military-industrial complex, war, and what it means to do good. I'm pretty sure this movie was the first time I was exposed to information about the American military, and it does not paint it in a positive light. Nukes are a lot to process as a kid, and I'm not sure that I fully understood the gravity of this film until later in life. But it's good to not understand everything you see because it makes you ask questions. This movie respects the viewer's intelligence, the source material, and the animation team's vision, and as a result, it lives on as one of the best animated films ever brought to the screen. And as an adult, to me it stands as an example of what animated movies can be when created through sheer love for the medium rather than for financial gain. The Iron Giant reassembles itself after being damaged, much like the family Sylvia Plath left behind, much like Brad Bird after losing his sister, much like any of us who choose to keep living and fighting in the face of adversity. People like myself who grew up in traumatic environments are conditioned to believe that we are inherently bad and that there is nothing we can do about it. But this movie was one of the first examples I saw of someone born in violence choosing to break their patterns and be better. If you don't have that background, it might sound like I'm extrapolating something from nothing, but if you do, you know what it's like to drown in the conditions of your environment and try your best to claw your way out. The ultimate lesson of the Iron Giant is universal, as its creation, both in book and movie form, was in the wake of loss, the deepest adversity shared by all of humankind, no matter what. Death is inevitable. The best that we can do is be good while we're here.
Souls gonna die.
Thanks for watching.